Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, we're taking a walk through the neighborhood right now, and I just figured I had to get out of my house and just do something a little bit different. But I wanted to talk about the World Boxing Super Series, the bantamweight portion, because I didn't get a chance to go live for that, and I haven't made any videos about it, so I figured I'd make one here. So we had Nonito Donaire this past weekend fight a guy in Stefan Young who accepted the fight on 3 days notice, and he delivered what was so far, I believe, potentially the knockout of the year. Just a devastating knockout. Young was a bit lazy out there with throwing a right-handed jab, because he's a southpaw, throwing a right-handed jab, and Nonito came and he just floored him with the left hook from hell, and he nailed him to the canvas with that left hook. And it was a good fight, all things considered, because Stefan Young took this fight on 3 days notice. Stefan Young's actually, I wouldn't call him a South Florida guy, but he's a guy that's in this South Florida area. So I've met Stefan Young on a couple occasions. He had a fight here last March against Raymar Caballo, which was a WBA eliminator, and I interviewed him, and he said that in that interview, he basically stated that he would want to fight Naoya the Monster Inoue, and he validated everything he said in that interview, because to take a fight on 3 days notice with a guy like Nonito Donaire, it says a lot about his character. And to be fair to him, he fought pretty well. He took a couple of rounds early off of Donaire. He was able to basically make things easy, make things hard on him early, with his jab, with his speed, with his smarts. But ultimately, the pressure of Donaire and the power that he possesses at this weight was just too much. The experience as well is just too much for Stefan Young to overcome on 3 days notice, straight up. So, fair play to him. He deserves all the credit in the world for taking the fight and fighting as well as he did for 3 days notice to take rounds off of Donaire. But ultimately, the quality of Donaire was just too much for him, and the experience of Donaire was just too much for him. With that being said, so I'm rooting for him. Donaire has had an interesting run in the tournament. Let's recap it for a little bit. So he has to fight Ryan Burnett. I believe Burnett was the #1 seed, and Burnett, has that freak back injury, and Donaire was able to stop him. Then he's supposed to fight Zolani Tate, another champion in the weight class, and Tate has to pull out because of an injury. He gets to fight Stefan Young. So many would probably argue that Donaire has had the easiest run to the title, to the final, but nonetheless, he's there. He's there at his advanced age of 36 years old. He's fighting in a weight class where naturally he's big. He's a bigger puncher than everyone, because he's used to fighting up at 122, 124. These high-ass weight classes, higher than these other guys. So now that he's fighting guys that are his size, he's just knocking them out. He's like the Mike Tyson of this freaking tournament. And I don't know, man. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, because a lot of times in boxing you tend to do that. But with that win, it's setting up a really good potential final between him and Naoya the Monster Inoue. And for as good as Inoue has been in his career, and we don't knock Inoue, he's one of the pound-for-pound great talents in boxing right now. But if he's able to come through his fight against Emmanuel Rodriguez, I would venture to say that he has never, in his whole boxing career thus far, fought someone who at the weight class he's fighting that can punch like Nonito Donaire. So that makes a potential fight between him and Donaire extremely intriguing to me, because it's easy for Inoue to go in there and overwhelm people with his speed and his power. But when there's nothing coming back, or when whatever's coming back isn't enough to get his respect, how is he going to respond? You see what I'm saying? So I think if he were to come through the final against Emmanuel Rodriguez and then fight Donaire, we're going to see for the first time in his career, how he reacts when somebody who throws shots with real thump and real significance does against Naoya Inoue. You see what I'm saying? So I think, in a weird way, the World Boxing Super Series is getting its wish, really, because all that has to happen now is he just got to go in there and do his job against Emmanuel Rodriguez. And then this is no overlooking or disrespecting Rodriguez. I just know that from the moment this tournament was announced, a lot of people were saying that their dream final, the final that they wanted, was Inoue versus Donaire. And Donaire, you know, at 118 has proven himself to be a massive puncher, an incredibly big puncher. And if he touches you, he can hurt you. He has fight-changing power, you see. And Inoue, when he's in the ring, he's used to being the guy that has the fight-changing power, but he's never fought a guy who could have just as much, if not more, fight-changing power than him. And when we talk Donaire, we're talking about a guy with championship pedigree. We're talking about a guy that's been in there with some of the best fighters around his weight. We're talking about a guy that, when it's all said and done, he has a legitimate chance to go to the Hall of Fame for boxing. And you know, I'm giving him every chance in the world against Inoue. If Inoue is able to get to the final and they get that Inoue versus Donaire final, I'm giving him every chance in the world to beat Naoya Inoue. Not because I hate Inoue or I don't think Inoue is a great fighter, but because I do think Inoue is a great fighter. But it has a lot to do with basically just what I'm seeing from Donaire. And is he the Filipino Flash of yesteryear that was throwing crazy combinations? No, he's not that guy anymore. But what he is a guy that makes every punch count. And more importantly, at this weight class, at his advanced age, he's very economical with his work. And he's someone that knows if he catches you at this weight class, if he hits you with the right shot, you're out of there. I mean, you saw what he did to Stephon Young. Obviously, we know that Inoue and Stephon Young are two completely different classes of fighter, but you saw what he's capable of. So, you know, I would agree that maybe Donaire has had, I don't want to say easy ride to the final, but he's had the right circumstances to get to the final. And now he's in the final, and we might get the Inoue fight. And I'm excited about it because Inoue is clearly going to have the advantages in speed, have the advantages in a lot of departments, but he's not going to have the advantage in power. He's not. And the thing is, he's a very good fighter. I take nothing from him, but he's not the most unhittable guy in the sport. You know, you can hit Naoya Inoue with the right timing. Donaire is going to be able to time him. I would say he's a veteran. He's smart. So I would say this, man, in an interesting case, you know, Inoue is going to have a chance to really, if he gets past Manuel Rodriguez, which is no gimme, and then he gets to the final, he's going to have a real chance to validate just how good he is when he fights Donaire, because Donaire at this weight class is something to watch, man. When he touches you with anything of significance, when he touches you with anything of significance, you get hurt and you fall. So it's just an intriguing matchup, and I liked what I saw from him this weekend against Stephon Young, a guy who was a slick southpaw, you know, a slick, athletic, confident southpaw. Because Stephon Young, let's have it right, man. He came out early, and he did what he had to do, man. Like Kendall Gill, former NBA player, he was commentating this week, and he spoke about, you know, how sometimes, like, if you're an inferior opponent, or, you know, he played basketball, so an inferior team, you can come out early and start playing well against, you know, let's say the Chicago Bulls or the Golden State Warriors, and you might be able to take some quarters off of them, and you start beating them, right? But eventually those teams turn it on and they show you why they're rated where they are. And that's happened in this fight. You saw Stephon Young coming with a lot of confidence, taking rounds off of Nonito Donaire, you know, outboxing him at points of the fight, jabbing him, double jabbing him. But Donaire showed why he's a multiple division world champion. Donaire showed why he just might be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. And when he made one mistake, Donaire capitalized on it, and that's the word we have to focus on: capitalizing. Donaire capitalized on the moment. Stephon Young didn't know, you know, that punch that he throws, where he throws a jab and it's kind of lazy. You can get away with it against a lot of fighters, but that's why Donaire is a top level fighter, because he saw the mistake, he threw a hook, he landed it, and he hurt him. So, good fight, good performance. I'd like to see Stephon Young in the future because I've seen him fight a couple times. He's not a bad fighter. You know, Stephon Young deserves respect.